why you crave more solitude as you get older, and why that's a sign of growth, not loss. There comes a moment in life when noise stops feeling exciting and starts feeling exhausting. Messages pile up, invitations keep coming, people still expect the same version of you, but something inside has changed. You begin to want more silence, more distance, more room to breathe. And that can be unsettling, because part of you wonders, am I becoming cold? Am I losing my ability to connect? Am I turning into someone people will slowly leave behind? But what if this need for solitude is not a symptom of something going wrong? What if it is the mind's quiet way of protecting what has become more precious with age? Your energy, your peace, your emotional truth. The older you get, the less you crave constant stimulation, and the more you crave spaces where you do not have to perform, explain, or recover. Solitude, then, is not always loneliness. Sometimes it is the deepest form of self-respect. One of the strangest things about getting older is realizing that what once made you feel alive can start making you feel drained. In younger years, being surrounded by people can feel like proof that you matter. Attention feels like connection. Being needed feels like love. Being included feels like safety. So you say yes more often. You stay available. You answer quickly. You tolerate dynamics that leave you tired because, deep down, being alone can feel more frightening than being overwhelmed. But as life goes on, something begins to shift. You collect disappointments. You learn how often people misunderstand you. You notice how much energy it takes to be cheerful when you are hurting, agreeable when you are angry, present when you are emotionally empty. And little by little, solitude stops feeling like rejection and starts feeling like relief. This is where many people become confused. They think, I used to be more open, more social, more tolerant. What happened to me? But often, what happened is not that you became worse. It is that you became more honest, more aware, more sensitive to what costs too much internally. Psychologically, this change often happens because maturity sharpens emotional discernment. You become better at sensing what is nourishing and what is depleting. In the past, you may have mistaken intensity for intimacy, attention for care, and proximity for belonging. But age teaches you that not every presence is comforting. Not every conversation is safe. Not every relationship allows you to exhale. And when someone has spent years people-pleasing, over-explaining, or shape-shifting to be loved, solitude can become the first place where the nervous system finally unclenches. No masks, no scanning faces, no trying to predict mood shifts, no trying to earn emotional validation. Just a quiet return to yourself. That is why the need for solitude often grows after heartbreak, family tension, friendship disappointment, burnout, or long periods of self-betrayal. The mind begins to understand something the heart resisted for years. Peace is not a small need. It is a basic need. Sometimes we do not seek solitude because we hate people. We seek it because we are tired of abandoning ourselves in order to keep connection. That sentence alone explains so much. The older you get, the less willing you are to pay for belonging with your nervous system. You start noticing which relationships leave you overthinking for hours, which ones make you feel emotionally invisible, which ones only work when you shrink, soothe, or perform. And once you see that clearly, solitude no longer looks empty. It looks clean. You begin craving spaces where your body softens, thoughts stop defending themselves, silence does not judge you, and your worth is no longer measured by usefulness, likability, or how others can reach you. In other words, needing more time alone is not always withdrawal. Sometimes it is recovery. Sometimes it is wisdom. Sometimes it is the soul saying, I cannot hear myself in all this noise anymore. In everyday life, this need for solitude does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like ignoring a call you do not have energy for, even from someone you care about. Sometimes it looks like leaving family gatherings feeling strangely empty instead of comforted. Sometimes it is canceling plans, not because you are rude or depressed, but because the idea of being on for 3 more hours feels heavier than people realize. You may notice that small talk becomes more tiring. Crowded places feel louder than they used to. Relationships that once seemed normal now feel emotionally expensive. You become less interested in proving yourself, less willing to explain your boundaries, less able to pretend that every connection deserves unlimited access to you. And yet, this shift can bring guilt. A part of you may still believe that good people are always available, always warm, always easy to reach. That guilt usually has deep roots. Many people were taught early that love must be maintained through compliance. If you grew up around emotional unpredictability, criticism, neglect, or conditional affection, you may have learned that staying connected was a survival skill. You became the one who checked in first, smoothed conflict, read the room, carried the emotional weight, and made sure no one felt abandoned, even while you were quietly abandoning yourself. So when you get older and start pulling back, your mind may misread that as danger. It says, if I stop overgiving, people will leave. If I become less available, I will become forgettable. If I choose myself, I am selfish. This is why so many people keep repeating exhausting patterns long after they know better. Insight alone does not erase conditioning. You can understand your wounds and still feel guilty every time you protect your peace. That is also why solitude can feel both comforting and scary at the same time. It comforts the part of you that is tired, but it scares the part of you that still equates aloneness with rejection. A person with anxious attachment, for example, may deeply crave peace yet still feel restless in it. Without noise, distraction, or constant contact, old fears rise to the surface. Thoughts begin whispering. What if no one really needs me? What if my silence makes me easier to replace? What if being alone proves something is wrong with me? And this is where overthinking often enters. Not because solitude is bad, but because silence reveals what constant busyness used to hide. It exposes unmet needs. It brings up grief. It shows you how often you chased emotional validation from people who were never truly capable of giving it. A woman may spend years being the dependable one in her family, only to realize she feels most peaceful when nobody is asking her for anything. A man may keep saying yes to friends out of loyalty, then come home irritated, numb, and ashamed for needing distance. Someone may stay in a relationship not because it feels safe, but because being alone still touches the ancient wound of not feeling chosen. So the pattern repeats. Overextend, feel drained, pull away, feel guilty, return too quickly, get hurt again. Many adults are not avoiding people. They are trapped between a longing for peace and a fear of what peace might reveal inside them. Healing begins when you stop treating your need for solitude as a flaw and start seeing it as information. Not every desire to withdraw is healthy, of course. Sometimes isolation can come from depression, unresolved pain, or fear. But very often, especially as you grow older, solitude is not the opposite of connection. It is the place where healthier connection becomes possible. Because when you finally spend enough time with yourself, you begin to notice something important. The peace you were searching for in other people was never fully available there to begin with. This is what maturity slowly teaches. Real belonging does not require constant access. Real love does not punish boundaries. Real friendship does not make you feel guilty for needing space to breathe. And real intimacy does not grow from self-abandonment. It grows from truth. That means your solitude can become sacred instead of shameful. It can become the space where your nervous system relearns safety without performance. The space where you stop measuring your worth by responsiveness, usefulness, attractiveness, or how well you manage everyone else's emotions. The space where you finally ask harder questions. Do I actually miss them? Or do I miss being wanted? Do I want connection? Or do I want distraction from myself? Am I lonely? Or am I simply unused to meeting myself without judgment? Those questions can change a life. Because many people do not fear solitude itself. They fear the unedited self that appears inside it. The grief, the anger, the tenderness, the exhaustion. The younger version of them who kept trying to earn love by being easy, agreeable, impressive, or endlessly understanding. Solitude strips away the audience. And without the audience, you are left with the truth of how you actually feel. But that truth is not your enemy. It is your doorway. When you stop running from quiet, you begin hearing your real needs more clearly. You become more selective, but also more sincere. You stop chasing intensity and start valuing steadiness. You stop confusing availability with intimacy. You learn that some people only felt close to you when you were neglecting yourself. And you begin building a life where connection does not cost you your center. In practical terms, healing may look simple, taking longer to answer without apologizing. choosing a small circle over constant social contact, resting before you are burned out, letting silence exist in relationships without panicking, spending time alone, not as punishment, but as nourishment, learning that you do not need to disappear from others to return to yourself. And maybe the deepest shift of all is this. You stop asking, why am I becoming more alone? And start asking, why did I spend so many years afraid to be with myself? Because the goal of life is not to be surrounded at all times. It is to be rooted, to know who you are when nobody is asking you to play a role, to discover that peace is not emptiness and silence is not failure. Sometimes, growing older does not make you love people less. It simply makes you love what is real more. And once you taste that kind of peace, you no longer fear solitude. You understand it, you honor it, and sometimes for the first time in your life, you finally let it heal you.